The security guard reached for the old veteran's backpack. "You cannot stay here, Sir Wade." The entire hotel lobby went quiet. A little girl standing beside her parents tugged at her father's sleeve. "Dad, why are they making Grandpa leave?" No one answered. The old man slowly removed his weathered army cap. His gray hair caught the afternoon light spilling through the hotel's glass entrance. He looked at the guard with tired but steady eyes. "I understand you're only doing your job," he said. "Would you do one thing before I go?" The guard hesitated. "What is it?" The old veteran glanced toward the grand staircase. "Tell Mr. Harrison that Daniel stopped by." The receptionist laughed under her breath. "The owner doesn't know people like you." Daniel simply nodded. "I suppose we'll find out." Less than 4 minutes later, the owner of the five-star hotel would step into the lobby, see the old veteran standing beside security, drop the leather portfolio in his hands, and whisper the one name he had not spoken in nearly 30 years. "Captain." Everything in the lobby would stop. Not because Daniel was rich, not because he was famous, but because every brick in that luxury hotel existed for one reason. An old soldier had once refused to leave another man behind. Have you ever watched someone decide another person's worth before learning the story they carry? Rain clouds drifted over downtown Boston. The streets shimmered from an afternoon shower. Luxury SUVs lined the entrance of the Harrison Grand Hotel. Bellhops welcomed arriving guests with practiced smiles. Doormen opened polished brass doors. Inside, the hotel glowed with quiet elegance. Crystal chandeliers reflected across polished marble floors. Fresh orchids decorated the reception hall. A pianist played soft jazz near the lounge. Business executives discussed contracts over coffee. Tourists admired the towering glass ceiling. Everything inside suggested comfort, success, exclusivity. Then the revolving door turned. An elderly man stepped inside. His boots were worn, but clean. His olive-green military jacket had been carefully repaired more than once. A faded army cap rested in his hand. Across one shoulder hung a canvas backpack that had clearly traveled thousands of miles. The old man paused for a moment, not because he was nervous, because pain had taught him that every step deserved patience. His name was Daniel. He was 74 years old. 46 years earlier, men had trusted him with their lives. Today, most people barely noticed him. Daniel had never cared much about appearances. His father had taught him something long before the army ever did. If your character is strong, you do not need expensive clothes to prove it. Daniel carried those words longer than he carried any medal. After serving overseas, he returned home expecting peace. Instead, he buried friends, watched his marriage struggle beneath memories he could never fully explain, lost his wife, Eleanor, to cancer after 39 wonderful years together. When the medical bills came, he sold almost everything without hesitation. The house, the boat, the savings they had built together. He never regretted a single dollar. He only wished it had given them more time. Now he lived quietly, in a veteran's transitional residence on the edge of the city. Not because he had given up, because life had simply become smaller. He volunteered twice a week, read history books at the public library, visited Eleanor's grave every Sunday morning. He complained about nothing. That afternoon, he had come to the Harrison Grand for a simple reason. 30 years earlier, his wife had celebrated her 50th birthday in that very hotel. Every anniversary after she passed, he returned to eat dinner in the same restaurant. He always ordered the same meal. He always sat near the same window. It made him feel close to her. He had saved for months just to afford one evening there. As Daniel walked toward the reception desk, several guests looked up briefly. A businessman glanced at the old backpack. A woman wearing designer sunglasses quietly pulled her expensive luggage a little closer. 2 teenagers stopped talking and watched him pass. Daniel noticed every look. He had noticed those looks for years. They no longer surprised him. Behind the reception desk stood Ashley Morgan, 26 years old, professional, efficient, still learning the difference between following procedures and understanding people. She offered Daniel the same smile she gave every guest. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the Harrison Grand. How may I help you today?" Daniel returned the smile. Good afternoon. I have a dinner reservation. And afterward, I'd like to book a room for the night. Ashley reached for the reservation system. Certainly, sir. What name is the reservation under? Daniel, she typed. Nothing appeared. She searched again. Still nothing. I'm sorry, she said kindly. I don't seem to have a reservation under that name. Daniel frowned slightly. That's strange. I booked it 3 weeks ago. Ashley tried another search. Still nothing. Before she could speak again, a sharp voice interrupted from across the lobby. What seems to be the problem? The hotel operations manager approached with quick, confident steps. Her name was Victoria Reynolds. She had built a reputation for protecting the hotel's exclusive image. Her eyes moved from Daniel's boots, to his worn jacket, to the old canvas backpack. She never looked at his face, and in those few silent seconds, she decided exactly who she believed he was. She was completely wrong. Victoria Reynolds stopped beside the reception desk. Her posture was perfect. Her smile looked polished enough for the guests watching nearby. But her eyes never softened. She glanced at Ashley's computer screen. Is there a problem? Ashley answered carefully. Mr. Brooks believes he has a dinner reservation and would also like to book a room. Victoria looked at Daniel, then at the worn canvas backpack resting by his feet, then back at Ashley. Did you verify the reservation? I'm trying to. Daniel spoke before Ashley could continue. There may have been a mistake. I booked it over the phone. It was for my wedding anniversary. Victoria barely reacted. I don't see a reservation. I'm sure another restaurant would be more appropriate. Daniel nodded politely. If the reservation was lost, that's all right. I'd still like to have dinner. And if you have a room available, I'd appreciate staying the night. Victoria folded her hands. Our rooms begin at $900. I understand. Our restaurant requires appropriate attire after 6 o'clock. Daniel looked down at his jacket. This was my army dress jacket once. I've taken good care of it. Victoria's expression remained unchanged. I'm afraid it doesn't meet our standards. Several nearby guests had begun watching openly now. A businessman quietly stopped his conversation. A young couple exchanged uncomfortable glances. An elderly woman sitting near the fireplace lowered her book. Ashley looked from Daniel to her manager. Something felt wrong. She quietly checked the reservation system one more time. Nothing. Then she noticed something. A second reservation database. Older bookings. She clicked it. A name appeared immediately. Brooks, Daniel. Private anniversary dinner. Window table. Reserved 6 months earlier. Ashley's eyes widened. She turned toward Victoria. Ma'am. Victoria cut her off without even looking. Not now. Ashley hesitated. But I think I found... I said not now. Daniel remained calm. There may have been a misunderstanding. I'm happy to wait. Victoria stepped a little closer. I'm going to ask you something. What exactly are you doing here? Daniel answered honestly. I came to remember my wife. For a brief second, even Ashley stopped typing. Daniel continued quietly. 30 years ago, we celebrated our last anniversary in this hotel. I promised her I'd come back every year. I've kept that promise. Several guests looked away. The story was simple. It sounded true, but Victoria had already decided. I'm sorry for your loss. However, this hotel is for registered guests. I am asking you to leave. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. I've done nothing wrong. No, but you're making our guests uncomfortable. Those words echoed through the lobby. A few people shifted uneasily. One little boy looked up at his mother. He doesn't look scary. His mother gently squeezed his hand. Shh. Daniel slowly picked up his backpack. If that's your decision, I won't argue. Ashley finally stepped forward. Please wait. She turned the monitor toward Victoria. I found the reservation. Victoria glanced at the screen. The reservation was there. Confirmed. Paid deposit received. For one brief moment, her confidence faltered. Then she noticed something else. The reservation was nearly 6 months old. She convinced herself there had to be another explanation. It could be fraudulent. Ashley blinked. The deposit cleared. We have the confirmation number. Victoria shook her head. I'll handle this. She reached for the desk phone. Security to the front lobby. Ashley's heart sank. Daniel didn't move. Within seconds, a tall security officer named Marcus Hill approached. He looked at Daniel, then at Victoria. "What happened?" Victoria answered firmly. "This gentleman has been asked to leave. He refuses." Marcus looked surprised. Daniel had done nothing except stand quietly. He wasn't raising his voice. He wasn't arguing. He wasn't disturbing anyone. Marcus turned to Daniel. "Sir, would you mind stepping outside with me while we sort this out?" Daniel gave him a tired smile. "I've been asked that question more times than I can count." Marcus frowned. "I'm sorry. I really don't want any trouble." "You won't get any from me." Daniel picked up his backpack. Then he looked once more at the reservation screen. "My wife always loved the window table. It overlooked the river. I suppose someone else will enjoy it tonight." Ashley felt a lump in her throat. She wanted to say something. Anything. Instead, she watched a 74-year-old veteran quietly prepare to leave the place that held one of the happiest memories of his life. The lobby remained silent. Dozens of people watched. No one intervened. Daniel adjusted the strap of his backpack and took 2 slow steps toward the revolving doors. Then he stopped. He turned back toward Ashley. "Would you do one small favor for me?" Ashley nodded. "Of course. If Mr. Harrison happens to come in today, please tell him Daniel kept his promise." Ashley looked confused. "You know the owner." Daniel smiled softly. "We met a long time ago." Victoria let out a short, dismissive laugh. "Mr. Harrison doesn't know every person who walks through these doors." Daniel simply replied, "No. But he remembers one." Outside, a black town car was pulling toward the hotel's front entrance. No one inside the lobby noticed it, not yet. The black town car came to a smooth stop beneath the hotel's front canopy. A valet hurried forward and opened the rear door. Out stepped Harrison, 70 years old, tall, silver-haired, the founder and owner of the Harrison Grand Hotel. He had spent 40 years building one of the most respected luxury hotel brands in the country. To his employees, he was known for one simple rule: luxury begins with respect. He expected every guest to be greeted with the same warmth, whether they arrived in a limousine or on foot. As William entered the revolving doors, the concierge immediately greeted him. "Good afternoon, Mr. Harrison." He returned the smile with a nod. "How has the day been?" "Very smooth, sir." Then he noticed something unusual. The lobby was too quiet. Guests were not talking. Employees looked tense. The security officer was standing beside an elderly man with a backpack. William slowed his pace. He studied the old man's face for only a second. Then his eyes widened. The leather portfolio slipped from his hand and hit the marble floor. The sound echoed through the silent lobby. For a long moment, nobody moved. William whispered, "It cannot be." The old man turned slowly. Their eyes met. A faint smile appeared on Daniel's face. "It has been a long time, Billy." No one had called Harrison Billy in decades. William crossed the lobby without another word. He stopped only inches from Daniel. His eyes filled with tears. Then, to everyone's complete shock, the Billionaire hotel owner embraced the old veteran. Not politely. Not formally. Like a son embracing the man who had changed his life forever. The lobby fell completely silent. Ashley covered her mouth. Marcus quietly stepped back. Several guests stared in disbelief. Victoria felt her heartbeat quicken. She had never seen Harrison react this way to anyone. William stepped back and looked at Daniel. "I've searched for you for 28 years. Daniel smiled. "I wasn't hiding. I just lived my life." William shook his head. "You disappeared after the funeral. I wanted to thank you." "You never owed me thanks," Daniel replied. "I simply kept a promise." Victoria finally found her voice. "Mr. Harrison, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding." William looked at her. "What misunderstanding?" "This gentleman arrived without a reservation." Ashley interrupted for the first time. "Sir, he did have a reservation. I found it. It was confirmed 6 months ago." Victoria's face turned pale. William looked from Ashley to Daniel, then back to Victoria. What exactly happened here? Nobody answered. William looked at Marcus. "You. Tell me." Marcus hesitated only a moment. "Sir, Mr. Brooks asked for his reservation." He remained polite the entire time. There was no disturbance. He was asked to leave. William slowly turned toward Victoria. "On what grounds?" She struggled to answer. "I believed. He didn't appear to." Her sentence faded away. William finished it for her. "He didn't appear wealthy enough." She said nothing. William looked around the lobby. His voice remained calm, but every word carried weight. "Do any of you know why this hotel exists?" Silence. "It exists because of this man." Every guest looked back at Daniel. William continued. 48 years ago, I was a 22-year-old army medic. I thought I understood courage. I was wrong. Our convoy was caught in an ambush. My vehicle rolled into a drainage ditch. I was trapped. The fire spread faster than anyone could reach me. The order was given to pull back. William looked directly at Daniel. Captain Brooks ignored that order. He went back alone. He pulled me out. He carried me through smoke and gunfire. And when I apologized for slowing everyone down, he smiled and said, "No one gets left behind." Daniel looked down quietly. "I hoped you'd forgotten that." "I never could." William's voice broke. "I went home because of you. I married because of you. My children were born because of you. This hotel," he slowly looked around the magnificent lobby, "stands because I had the chance to build it." He paused. "I owe every success in my life to the man standing in front of you." A deep silence settled over the room. Several guests quietly wiped tears from their eyes. The businessman who had been watching from the lounge slowly stood. A young couple exchanged embarrassed glances. Even the pianist had stopped playing. No one was looking at Daniel's worn jacket anymore. They were looking at the man inside it. William bent down, picked up Daniel's old backpack, and carried it himself. Then he faced everyone in the lobby. "This backpack. You judged it. I see something very different. I see a lifetime of service. I see sacrifice. I see a man who gave more to strangers than most of us give to our own families." He looked directly at Daniel. "Captain, welcome home." For the first time that afternoon, the entire lobby stood to its feet. Not because anyone asked them to, because respect had finally caught up with the man who had deserved it from the moment he walked through the door. No one spoke. The applause faded. The silence that followed carried far more weight. Harrison stood beside Daniel, not as the owner of a luxury hotel, but as a man standing beside the person who had once given him a second chance at life. Daniel looked around the lobby. Only minutes earlier, the same people had avoided looking at him. Now they lowered their eyes in quiet embarrassment. William gently placed Daniel's backpack over his own shoulder. Then he turned toward the reception desk. "Ashley." "Yes, sir. Please prepare the Riverview Presidential Suite." Ashley smiled. "Right away, sir. And cancel every charge. This hotel will have the honor of hosting Captain Brooks." Daniel smiled politely. "That is generous. But I came here to pay like everyone else." William returned the smile. "You paid for your stay nearly 50 years ago." The room fell silent once again. Then William turned toward Victoria Reynolds. His expression was calm, but there was disappointment in his eyes. "Victoria," she slowly stepped forward. "I am sorry, Mr. Harrison. I made a terrible mistake." William nodded. "You did. But your mistake began long before today." She looked confused. "You stopped seeing people. You started seeing appearances. That has no place in this hotel." Victoria lowered her head. "I understand." William continued. "There will be a formal review of today's incident. Our human resources team will examine every decision that was made. We will also review whether this reflects a broader problem in how guests have been treated." He paused. "Until that review is complete, you are relieved of your managerial duties." Victoria closed her eyes for a brief moment. She removed her manager's badge and placed it on the counter. "I understand." She did not argue. She simply accepted responsibility. William then looked toward Marcus. "You treated Mr. Brooks with respect, even while following instructions." Marcus nodded quietly. "I only tried to do the right thing," William smiled. "And that matters." Finally, he turned to Ashley. "You found the reservation. You tried to speak. You chose integrity over convenience. Ashley felt tears welling in her eyes. I wish I had spoken sooner. Daniel stepped toward her. You spoke when it mattered. Sometimes courage arrives one sentence at a time. Ashley smiled through her tears. Thank you, Captain. That evening, Daniel sat by the window of the hotel's restaurant. The same corner table. The same view of the river. The same place where he and Eleanor had celebrated their anniversary 30 years earlier. A single white rose rested on the table. William quietly walked over, carrying an old photo album. I hoped you might recognize these. Daniel opened it slowly. Inside were photographs taken during the hotel's grand opening, decades earlier. One picture showed a much younger Harrison. Standing beside him, in an old army uniform, was Captain Daniel. Daniel laughed softly. I forgot this picture even existed. William smiled. I never did. The two men sat together for nearly an hour, not talking about business, not talking about money, talking about old friends, letters, families, and the people who never came home. When dinner ended, William asked one final question. Why didn't you ever tell anyone who you were? Daniel looked out at the lights reflecting across the river. Because the uniform was never meant to make me more important than anyone else. I only wanted to be treated the same as every other guest. William nodded slowly. You should have been. The following week, every employee across the Harrison Grand Hotels attended a new training program. Its title was simple: Respect comes first. The first lesson contained only one sentence. Never decide a person's value before learning their story. Ashley helped teach the program. Marcus volunteered to share what he had witnessed that afternoon. William attended every session himself. Not because anyone required him to. Because leadership begins at the front of the room. As for Daniel, he returned to his quiet life. He continued volunteering at the Veterans Center. He continued visiting Eleanor every Sunday. Nothing about him changed. And perhaps that was the most important part of all. He had never been searching for recognition, only kindness. Months later, Daniel returned to the Harrison Grand. This time, the doorman recognized him immediately. Welcome back, Captain Brooks. Daniel smiled. It is good to be back. Inside the lobby, Ashley greeted him with the same warm smile she offered every guest. Not because he was a war hero, not because the owner knew his name, but because every person deserved that welcome. Daniel looked around the lobby one last time. The marble floors had not changed. The chandeliers had not changed. The expensive furniture had not changed. The people had. And in the end, that mattered far more. Because true luxury is never found in crystal chandeliers, or polished marble, or 5-star ratings. It is found in the simple decision to treat every person with dignity before you know their story. So let me ask you, if you had been standing in that lobby, would you have stayed silent? Or would you have been the first person to say, let's hear him out before we judge him?